What's up everybody, Peter McKinnon here. Welcome back to yet another video, and I forgot to turn on my key light. Bam. You almost don't even need it with the window there, and then I got my background light, bam. But I'm actually about to rip all of these things down and redo them because it needs some tweaking. And this video is all about that. What's on the other side of this camera here and how we've made and dialed this setup for filming videos. We're also gonna take a look at some of the past videos that I've done, old setups, review those and see if I still think they're any good. And then some tips and tricks on how you can get your setup dialed as well, wherever you're shooting at home or in your office. That was a mouthful. All right, first thing we're gonna do is off, and okay, this is the behind the scenes. This is the heart of my setup. This is how all my videos are filmed. This is what I'm looking at, what Kirk's looking at, what other people are looking at. So the whole thing powered by an Aperture 120D light. That's the key light, that's the main angle, and we've got that backed up by this window light. We've kind of decided sometimes to shoot either what we call light mode or dark mode. Now what that does is it basically gives me two looks in the same spot. Camera of choice here is the C500 Mark II. I was using the C200 for the longest time, but cinema cameras are getting updated. The dynamic range is better. We can shoot RAW. There's just a lot more capabilities and flexibilities with this camera. It edits way better in Premiere Pro, which we love. So that's the main angle, supported by a small HD screen on a GorillaPod, and that's what we use so that I can actually see the angle and what's going on. So this mic, boom mic, is a recommendation from Marquez, and he said to get the Sennheiser MKH 416. It sounds so good. It's phantom powered, so I don't have to remember to charge it, turn it on, plug it in, any of that. It's just XLR'd all the way up this pole, right to the top rafters, right back down to the C500 here. But I like this setup because it's out of the way. I used to have it attached to the top of the camera, but then I was always limited to where the camera could be placed. If I want this camera moved back, moved to the side, moved out of the way, and my mic is fixed to it, I'm limited to where I can be. So this is actually an Insta360, one of those like selfie stick things, and that's just clamped to a super clamp. And on top of the super clamp is just a friction arm from Manfrotto with another super clamp that actually attaches to the sprinkler. It's kind of cool when you start mix and matching a bunch of stuff you have lying around the studio, kind of grip stuff, and you makeshift something that works, and then we just keep the cables tied with bongo ties, and it's not far off from my face, so it's like a really good distance, and it's not in frame. So no matter where I am, we can move it left, right, it stays right there. All right, so this is our top-down cam, which is the EOS R. That way it matches the kind of like, I can get 4K out of it, I can get log out of it, I can get that nice high-res footage I want. And it's attached to a ball head, which is attached to a grip head, to a grip arm, to another grip head, to a super clamp. And that's then clamped to a metal post that I welded to the ceiling. I did not weld it. I don't know how to weld. But if I said nothing, people would have definitely called that out because... And this is the desk. So this is where I shoot, this is where I edit, this is where I take calls. It's right in front of the window, got some natural light. IMAX stays here, just off frame. And again, because the mic is not attached to the camera, if I want to get this in frame, kind of just peeking in the corner so you can see that I'm at a desk, I can easily move that camera back, and then none of the audio, none of the top downs is affected because it's all basically detached from one thing. One of my favorite parts about this whole desk setup and how I've crafted everything for this particular filming scenario is that I don't always like sitting when I'm editing. I want to stand, sit, etc. This is obviously a standing desk. Shout out to Fully for decking out my entire office, but check this out. If I want to pre-program in, number 2 is my standing position, but carefully note, this took a lot of work right here. So now this desk is considerably higher, but nothing got in the way of anything else. The mic doesn't need to move, the small HD doesn't need to move, my camera doesn't get in the way of the desk, the computer doesn't get in the way of the light, the key light doesn't get in the way of the mic, like nothing moves even when the desk moves. So I can just basically seamlessly work from sit to stand to film without anything having to be put away or swung around or moved to make way for something else. It just works, and it took a long time to get it dialed to that level, but whew, I'm quite happy it's there. And now I'm gonna rip it all down. This here is my background light. Now, not always important when you don't have a background. Right now, since we're still kind of new here, I haven't done anything with this back wall. I usually have shelving with lots of things on it or artwork, which is what the plan is for this wall. I've gaff taped it right here. If I remove some of this gaff tape, you'll notice that the light right here from inside the light itself shines through the grate where like the heat escapes. And a lot of people could see that on the video, and they were saying to themselves, or they were saying to me very loudly in the comments, like, whatever that, is that a sensor spot? Is that dirt? Whatever that is, it's super distracting, and you were right. I didn't tape that heat sink all the way down. I left a little bit of like a gap so heat could still get out. You see nothing now. So that is the background light, but the one thing I'm missing is a hair light. And a hair light is super important to separate you from that background even more. So let's deal with that hair light right now. Remember this background, this whole setup, Studio B or something I was gonna call it? You probably don't, because I only used it twice, because I actually don't like it. You see, the problem with this room was basically the amount of depth available. You see, I had the camera over here. Now, when the camera was here and the mic was here, it was good, the flow worked, sort of. Could have a key light right here, but there's not much depth from where my body is to the camera to the background. And what that did is it made this background look like a green screen. There were so many comments and friends and people saying, is that actually real? Are there cameras on this shelf? Yes, there are, but the problem is it was just so flat, and there's not much room in here to light it to look better. Now, in hindsight, what do you do when you don't have much space? When you have a limited amount of space to make a backdrop, and you don't have the luxury to get more depth, how do you make this work? Well, in this situation, in hindsight, what I probably should have done was move to the corner. You see, if the camera floated down, moved more into the corner, got this light out of the way so that I could have used the depth of the room diagonally, would have given me way more room. I could have seen out into the hall. You could see into the hall of your bedroom, into your house, wherever, your kitchen. Not use the shortest length of the room, but the longest length of the room, and key the lights that way. That would have given me more dimension on the shelves, would have made them look less like a green screen, and in the end, it probably would have just looked better. So those are all things to keep in mind when you're picking where you want to film your videos. If it's going to be a set that's dedicated, that the lights are going to stay where they are and you can mount things, or maybe you have to set them up and take them down, but when you're looking for that spot, keep those things in mind. So I'm going to take this light and I'm going to put it in the ceiling. I'm going to use this friction arm here to attach the current key light as a hair light in my background. Manfrotto make a few variations of this cool grip arm, and I highly recommend getting a whole bunch of these because they always come in handy. Not this particular one, but just grip heads and friction arms and those types of things and clamps, because they always come in handy to mix and match things, to basically dial in the exact solution that's gonna work for you in your setup. But they do make one of these that's double tiered, so it can hold like a much stronger light, and it's what's holding up the key light right now. I don't know if this one's strong enough. This is what I'd probably use for like a boom mic, but hoping that it'll hold a 120D. Let's try this. I really rigged this. I even put like a safety release up here in case this whole rig falls. I have it secured with like a metal wire and carabiner. And then I have everything bongo tied and wired up to the outlet up in the ceiling there. This is really gonna suck, but it must be done. Hello. I'm a little sketched out about it, to be honest. It just doesn't instill much confidence. Can you see the double one there? I mean, it instills confidence. The idea is to not have this in frame, so I don't want a giant lens flare in every single video. So truss percentage on this thing is probably sitting somewhere around 8%. My sockets. My sockets hurt so much. That's the title, my sockets. Everyone comment below, my sockets. This light is way heavier. Like, I would say twice as heavy. Truss percentage, 13%. All right, where you gonna go? Where, oh my goodness. Tell me this is gonna work. Oh. Psyched on that. Look at that, and I can see what level it's at just by looking up all day, every day. Okay, several hours have passed since the last clip you just saw seconds ago, but we finally got the place dialed. Hair light, and you can really see the difference it makes when I'm not wearing a hat. It really separates me from the background. You have that depth, which is gonna help inherently, just being so far from that back wall, but now I also have this light to just make it even more obvious. As an example, let me throw my hat on here. You wouldn't notice it, but when the light goes on, you can kind of see the outline of that hat way better. Without, with, without, with. Then obviously it makes a huge difference when you're not wearing a hat because it just shines off your hair, which looks so good. Okay, and then you have your main light, much better, and your background light. With all of these things combined, push the desk forward a little bit more to give us even more depth. That's what you're looking at. And this is light mode. If I was to close the blinds, it'll make even more of a difference. Let's go ahead and do that. Wait for that window light to go away. Look at that, it's already changing. Okay, so now this is official dark mode with the blackout blinds closed and the key light pumped up a little bit. And I have a little bit of window light coming in from the other room over here, just adding a little bit of fill. Now you can see, super dramatic looking, it looks great. Now without the hair light, look at that difference. Makes a huge difference. This is more dramatic, it looks okay. It looks fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but you'll notice the separation added on this side with that extra hair light. Bam. So what do you prefer? Light mode, dark mode? I've asked you before. As the set continues to evolve, so do my feelings on it. And that's a good thing. I think it's good to try new things, try new lighting setups, try new angles, add things here and there to just slowly, I use the word dial a lot because it's just perfect. You just dial it in more and more and more as you learn your space, as your knowledge and curiosity grows as well. Lighting's a scary thing, but it can make all the difference. Now this corner is a little bit of a black hole right now, but this island is being replaced with a walnut island. So I think that'll warm things up and add a lot of light. I still gotta mount the neon sign on the wall, which will spill onto that walnut island, which will make it look better. Get some art on the wall behind, and now you've got a vibe going. Now it's starting to look like something. Okay. My recommendation when you are trying to find a place to film, be it that it's in your house or apartment or office, studio, whatever. Before you bring all your stuff in, your lights, your tripods, your cameras, that stuff, just go in the room first and visualize it. Try to look around, look at your mounting options. If there are no options, that's fine. Light stands, tripods, they exist for that reason. But look for like the longest part of the room. Maybe that's setting up in the corner so that you have the entire office behind you. A lot of people like to set up on their desk and everything looks great and their desk looks awesome, but then the camera's behind the desk and you see nothing behind you. So maybe instead set up your desk so it looks great, then put the camera behind you so you're shooting this way so you can see your cool setup. It all depends on what's available to you. So figure that out first, find the longest part of the room so you have the most depth. Now this is also preference. Some people may be absolutely fine with background being super close because that's all you can do. Even if it looks like my camera wall and looks like a green screen, it still looks good. It didn't look bad. I just prefer seeing more in the background. That's always been my preference. Now to dive into that a little more, let's take a look at some of my past setups that I've had since the beginning of this YouTube channel. Here is the infamous bedroom. This is set number 1. This was 2017, 2018, even parts of 2019 actually. It's just flip-flopped all over. But you'll notice in this bedroom, I chose this particular angle because I could open that closet door and then get extra depth. That's why I chose that angle. Now there were other angles where I was just sitting on the couch. There was angles where I was beside the desk facing the other way. You'll notice very early on, I was actually shooting right up against the wall. There was no background. I was in the corner of the room and my camera was facing me and the iMac, which was taking up most of the screen, and it was just me and no depth. I spun that whole thing around to shoot the way that everyone got used to. That was the main setup for a long time. Then we move over to the office I had with Maddie, and let's take a look at that background. I flip-flopped all over that set. The main set being the bookcase in the background, but you'll notice I didn't use that as often because I liked shooting with the entire office behind me. Here's a couple shots of the Dope Squad sign behind me, that wooden wall behind me. You can see the light set up over the podcast table, all those types of things. Those were my favorite angles to shoot from. If I was gonna have something really, really close behind, I would make it dramatic and I would vignette the heck out of it so it just felt really moody, and I would use that wooden wall. That was another popular angle that I used all the time. Now the one thing I didn't like about that as much was how close it was behind me, but it didn't matter as much because there was no detail on it. There wasn't shelving with a bunch of things or cameras or stuff to look at. It was just texture, so it kind of just got lost. You can flip back to the office when I left that and went back home while this place was being renovated. That set looked great. Again, I had to rip apart the entire room to make it work and then put it back after, and it just wasn't practical. The setup time to get that shot, which albeit looked good, was like 45 minutes to an hour, and then 45 minutes to an hour to get it back to a usable office, and that just wasn't something I was willing to do every single day. So the juice was not worth the squeeze in that particular instance. Even when we came to this office, you'll notice one of the first angles we were shooting this way with the owl in the background, and it wasn't working. And then we started shooting this way when I was talking about how to get better audio in a place that has lots of echo. And then even still, we moved over and decided that this, with the depth going back into that far office, plus this whole lounge area, was the best bet to just plant the desk, make our roots, mount the lights, and commit to the main angle. And that's the last point, is you gotta commit. There's gotta be a point where you pick what's best and you just send it. You work with what you have and you make it as best as you possibly can and efficient as you possibly can, so that you enjoy the process of making videos. You enjoy the process of using your studio, using your setup, and it's easy for you, so it's fun from the moment you hit record to the moment you hit publish. That's what matters the most. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the run through of my main angle, the readjustment, the importance of adding a hair light, separation from the background, depth, all of those things. There was a lot of information packed into this video, and I thought when I woke up this morning, I wanted to get these things done. I figured filming them would maybe bring some of you guys some value, because I personally love watching these types of videos. Gerald Undone has tons of good videos on this where he goes super into depth about all the different, I mean, his setup is ridiculous. The wireless triggers to things, to sensors and cables and buttons, and it's nuts, but it's really cool to see how different people think and how different people set up their studios. He's got a great series on that you guys should check out. Another person I've enjoyed watching their studio setups is Parker Walbeck, and you learn a lot from these things. You learn a lot from these creators setting up and going through issues and figuring them out to help you, to inspire you do the same thing. So I hope you got something out of it. At minimum, watching me struggle to hang things in the rafters and playing with this remote. It's just so much fun. There we go. That's it for me, guys. Hit the like button if you like this video. Smash it if that's something that you're into, 2020 style. Subscribe if you aren't already, and I will see you in the next video. Peace. Old school. Would you say anything if I just did the video this way? Just sat down and was like, what's up, everybody? Peter McKinnon here, and welcome back to yet another video. And I just kept going. Would you stop me? No. You just let me do it. You wouldn't even ask. You wouldn't say, hey, just wanted to know, are you sure you wanted to go with that style? I've never seen it, just wanted to be sure. You, Ford, sponsor me. Look how much white hair there is, dude. Look at all that white hair. Hey, Pete, why have you not cut it? Well, I'm growing it back. See you in the next video.